Hello and welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We have a great show. We have State Representative Donni Steele from the 54th District. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me here this morning.
Thanks for coming on. This is great. I was just going to say what's going on in the legislature, and as you know, I love to talk budget.
Well, unlike most other people, they probably don't, so I'll try to make it as fun as I can while we're here.
Oh, it'll be fun. Don't worry about that.
So, yes, we just got finished with the budget. 2 weeks ago, we voted it in, and we'll be headed back up to Lansing this week. And unlike the federal government, we did not shut down, maybe for a couple hours, but we did an extension for a week to be able to finalize it, so there was no per se shutdown at the same time.
It all kept going.
It kept going.
I didn't know they could do that. I thought that the fiscal year ended at hard stop at 11:59 and 59 seconds on the 30th of September, and that was it.
It was, and then I think at 4 a.m, we passed a resolution that said we can continue with our services in the future, whatever that budget will look like, but it's per se about $1.25 billion for 1 week of spending for the entire week.
Wait a minute. How much per week?
Well, if you figure that our budget's close to $82 billion and there's 52 weeks in the year, it's somewhere between $1.2 and $1.5 billion for
$1.25 billion, B for baby billion,
for 1 week to run this 1 week to run the state.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That is a lot.
And when we did that and we did that resolution to continue for, it was like, that can't be right. That's crazy. And then
80. That's a lot. Do you know offhand how much of that is federal pass-through? How much of that is not?
Our budget's about $12 billion for general fund and about 82. So then you got the school funding too. So I would have to say it's closer to probably 50 pass-through.
Right.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know is that so much of the state budget is federal pass-through and programs, and the discretionary amount is not that much. So when you say, let's cut, you say, okay, we do our best here.
Correct.
But I'm sure there's lots. I'm sure there's lots.
Well, and then there's things that are programs and grants that you look at and you say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And they're federal programs and federal grants, and not to do them, we're better off doing them if they're federally paid.
Yeah, so the feds will give you money. Let's just say that all of a sudden there's a mandate that every dog in Michigan has to have a nice collar. What's it going to cost? Well, the feds will pay for it. The feds say you have to do it. The feds will pay for it. Of course, what we learned at some point is the feds will say, okay, we'll pay for it. And then over the years, they decrease the amount of money, but you got to keep buying the dog collars. Sooner or later, guess who gets to pay for it?
There's a lot of those dog collars
programs
in our budget.
Not dog whistles, dog collars. Yeah. And I like dogs. Don't get me wrong. Everybody knows I love the wiener dogs.
Yes.
All right. So now you started out as treasurer and trustee of Orion Township, right?
Yes, sir.
So you had to balance budgets then.
Yes, and statutorily, the state of Michigan has to balance the budget, meaning whatever revenues come in is what goes out, and then you can't exceed that amount. Unless you have rainy day funds that you could utilize that. But the federal government, we're spending $1.25 for every dollar we take in. They don't have to balance it, and that's why we see these deficits that are out of this planet in the federal government. But the state government, it's has to balance, like the township as well too.
Yeah, well, the townships, cities, you have to do that. All of us have to. That's kitchen table economics.
That's true.
I mean, it's, I guess it doesn't work at the federal level. I thought they had something called the anti-deficiency law, which meant you couldn't spend more than you appropriated. But what do I know? That's federal, not state.
And I have seen that when there was a $9 billion surplus from the COVID funding that was passed through from the federal government, that they spent all of that within the budget that would have been last year's budget. So it was appropriated out.
Right. Now COVID, I know they got a flood of federal COVID bucks that came in. It was always accused that would distort our budget. Is that money all gone?
The money's all gone. However, what they did was built it into the budget. So I've been there 3 years, and so I've had 3 budgets. And the first year they spent the $9 billion surplus. The second year they built in $9 billion into the budget, and then the third year they built it in too. So they found enough revenue to be able to continue that spending without necessarily creating a rainy day fund.
Okay, so in other words, you got let's just pick a number. Let's say $1 billion. That's a big number, but let's just okay, $1 million. Why not? So you get $1 million from the feds. Okay, it's free money. It comes, free money. It's probably got strings, but it comes. It's free money. So you spend that money on stuff. Now, if the year after you say, okay, we're going to build our budget and assume that we are got $1 million coming and just roll that into our budget, but on money that may or may not be there, that doesn't sound like a recipe for success.
Well, that's a really good point that you bring up, because the federal government did exactly that with the cutbacks that they made at the federal level, and I think it was close to $2 billion that were cut from, mostly from the Health and Human Services budget, that we had to fill in, accommodate, and cut.
So they, I remember we had a budget director who came in and said, guys, here, don't use one-time money for ongoing costs. And we were all like, ooh, like cavemen, cavemen at the fire, whoa. And it's amazing. I mean, Jennifer Granholm never even conceived of that one. So you take one-time money, it's one-time money, but if you build it into your budget for ongoing costs, when the one-time money goes away, what do you do?
Oh, yeah, and we had a couple one-time fundings from last year's budget that the minute that we started dissecting, because we are the House is Republican, we have taken majority. So last 2 years we were in minority. So here this time we have a little bit of say-so in the final budget. So as we were dissecting the budget, because we had the ability to be able to do that, because we are chairs of all the boards of the appropriations.
Yes.
As we dissected that, we discovered such as the funding for free food for kids, lunch and breakfast for every student in the state of Michigan was a one-time funding. And when we said, let's roll that back, there was a huge outcry. We can't starve the kids. We have to feed the kids. Well, for the history of the state of Michigan, the federal government always fed the kids free lunch for kids of need, but that wasn't good enough. Last year, we had to feed everybody breakfast and lunch, and now once you roll that in, you can't. It's almost impossible to unroll
now,
it.
Now, here's the deal. We don't want hungry kids, but the thing is, we are doing this show at Bloomfield Community TV. We have Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills. We have a lot of other, the other communities. It seems that if you're taxing people who live in, all around the state of Michigan, who don't make a lot of money, people are working class, so that they can feed kids in Birmingham and Bloomfield Hills, that doesn't sound too good to me. And I don't know how you turn around and justify it. That if you have hungry kids in Birmingham and Bloomfield, which surely we do, why would you tax someone who's working on the line, someone who's working, doing his garden company, people up in the Upper Peninsula? Why are you taxing them to pay for the food for children of maybe even millionaires?
A lot of it goes in the garbage. So I've talked to a lot of people at the schools and the work in the cafeterias, and the kids, they don't like it. It goes in the garbage, and that's
nothing's changed since I was there. I'm in high school now. Yeah.
You just when you pay for it out of your pocket, you seem to throw away less. I found in my lifetime. So that was one, and so we actually try to roll that out in our budget. And in the 11th hour on the 11th day, they rolled it back in, and so we will be funding that lunch and breakfast program in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so all the people who are watching this, who are working hard, working jobs, having budgets, making sure your budget's balanced, guess what? You're paying for lunches for rich people, kids. There you go.
Yeah. And then what we try to do with that extra funding, Chuck, was to actually roll it into the foundation allowance. So
Okay, let's stop.
Okay.
The foundation allowance is what every school district gets as a base.
Correct.
Right.
Per pupil.
Per pupil.
Per pupil.
Yeah, per pupil.
And trying to get parity across all the 825 school districts in the state of Michigan is that everybody gets the same funding for their students. And so what we have found over the past 10 years is that there's all these grants that lobbyists think that are great ideas that the school should fund, and the grants and continuing fund, and before you know it, the foundation allowance continues to erode, and all these special projects, programs that not everybody qualifies for gets funded, and we're not putting it with money's not following the student. And we are hoping to boost that number up and reduce some of these expenditures.
I can say it. Maybe you can say it too. It sounds to me like pork barrel. But of course, as we know, this is one of my laws. One man's pork is another man's bacon. You're bringing it home. That's why you have state representatives and say, I'm in favor of pork barrel spending and whatever. You say, gee, let's cut all the pork. You say, oh yeah, that's okay, but not my district's pork. I know.
I love my bacon. I mean, what's better than bacon? More bacon.
Everything's better with bacon. And I tell you, since we're talking about the wiener dogs, enough of that. But the whole idea, unfortunately, is that it's not our money. But yeah.
Yes.
Good. Now, question. So you've got the differences between the two sides have been essentially what? More spending versus less spending, or moving the side?
Well, you know what? So we were wanting to spend, because I'm the chair of the transportation budget in the House.
Oh, I forgot to say, you sit on the Appropriations
I do.
Committee. That's why we're talking about it.
Yes. And then we're having fun with it too. Is that we had a plan to change some of the laws to be able to fund an additional $3 billion in road funding without raising the taxes. And so that was our starting point. And no matter what we did, we couldn't get past the fact that the other side wanted to raise taxes to be able to fund the roads. And so we did compromise, and we ended up getting $1.5 billion without raising taxes. But they also did raise the tax on the cannabis wholesale of $420 million.
Marijuana, yeah, the tax on that went up, what, 24% or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't look at me. I have enough trouble thinking as it is. But the deal is we don't need to talk about 50 years ago at Michigan State. But the deal, everybody tells me that I said about that. If I wanted to make money on the marijuana, and if I really wanted to do that, I'd start renting a movie theater and start showing Yellow Submarine at midnight.
And hot dogs. Bring some of the wiener dogs and bacon with bacon.
Yeah, or 7-Eleven in Midland. But no, we're not casting aspersions on Midland, Michigan 7-Eleven in 1973. All right, so anyway, the two are apart, but you were able to bring it together, which is good. Very quickly, because we're going to go out on break, how hard was it to get the sides together?
Extremely difficult. And the one saving grace is the governor basically wanted to fund the roads because that's what she ran on, and so she was part of the catalyst to get that through. And the holdup was the Senate, which was the Democrat ran, and Winnie Brinks, Senator Brinks.
We know about divided government. I can tell you that. Well, we're talking with Representative Donni Steele from the 54th District about Lansing and watching your pennies, and it's our pennies too, isn't it? Don't go away. We'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland.
Bloomfield Township Senior Services promotes wellness and strengthens the community through social connections, fitness classes, aquatics, day trips, and more. Our staff is here to serve you, offering lifelong learning and interactive opportunities for residents age 50 and above. Invest in your vitality with us. Follow us to learn more and stay up to date. We look forward to meeting you.
Welcome back to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We're talking with Donni Steele, state representative from the 54th District and chair of the House Appropriations Committee, the Transportation Committee. Now, we were on break. We heard a question about what about the lotto money? Everybody always talks about the lottery money. It was supposed to fund our schools. Where does that go?
It does go into the schools. And being that I'm not on the school budget, I'm not sure how much revenue. It's actually a very small portion of revenue goes for the schools for the lottery. And I couldn't give you a number off the top of my head, but it does go into that. But it's the net cost. It's not you got to take all the winnings and the running and the department, and you got to take all those expenses out of the running the lottery, that by the time that you end up getting the net dollar to go into schools, it's not as large as you think. Because, I mean, you think, $1 billion. They have to have $1 billion to pay off the winners, right?
One would hope.
Yes, and so
Don't look at me. I don't
yeah.
play. Actually, occasionally
Yeah.
I'll buy one and it doesn't win.
Yeah, it's when those pots get really big, but it's the net cost. The net profit does go into the schools.
What percentage is how much does the overhead take out of the lotto? I never thought about that.
You know what? And that's a really good question, Chuck. I have to go into that, but I do know that money goes in there, but it's just such a small portion of what goes into the school budget. The biggest portion that goes into the school budget is what you pay in your property taxes. So you pay, whatever your millage is. If you're a homestead, you pay 6 mills. If you're non-homestead, you pay 18 mills of whatever your value is. That goes into the bucket, and that school aid fund is what funds most of the schools with the foundation allowance. Back to that
Right.
foundation
The
allowance.
property taxes are the main source of income for your cities, villages, townships, and school boards.
And schools.
Yeah, we had back in 09 and 10, we had some fun shows on this talking with equalization. When did it drop 25% or 20% this quarter?
Oh yes, and some of these communities are just getting to the parity of where they lost in 2008. The assessed value. To
Yeah.
be able. So right now, I think the schools are flush, and the budget that rolled out for the school bus, they call it the omnibus, but was close
Well,
to.
that's good. That's nice. I like that.
Omnibus, so it's all one big package thrown in together, was close to $21 billion for the school. And every, the schools are complaining, we need more money, we need to shore up the pension, we need to do all these things. But the school aid has risen like close to 40%, but the general fund is right there with inflation. We're only going up 3%, 4% a year. And so when you have extra expenditures and you have to use the general fund, it's like those are precious dollars. They're not going up at the same rate as our school aid fund.
Well, school aid's the largest item in the state budget, isn't it?
Well, Health and Human Services.
Oh, really?
Health and Human Services is
Ooh.
bigger. It's $38 billion, and then the schools.
I remember when school aid was the largest. Yeah, that's changed.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
interesting.
So, and the question would be, are we getting healthier, and are we getting smarter in the state of Michigan with the amount of money we spend?
Well, I know I'm not getting any smarter,
And I'm not getting any younger.
healthier. It depends on the week, but no, don't get into that. So you mentioned the shoring up of the pension. As I recall back, once again, we're talking back to the catastrophic Great Recession, and it's. Is that the pension systems, which are constitutionally guaranteed, I believe, for the teachers, they were okay. The health care was not. It was these were now it can be told all around the state. This was a house of cards ready to fall, and we began to try to refill up the funding for the liability. How's that doing?
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you asked it because
I'm glad someone is.
Yeah, they put everybody on like a hybrid 401k, and it's very complicated because of the hybrid situation, and some of them are in full pension and some of them are not on full pension. However, that was during the Snyder administration that he actually took a conscientious effort to shore that up. However, there's still a shortfall in the billions of dollars, like $30 billion for the pension. And And I don't know offhand if that includes
Now, pension
the
or health care?
I'm not sure if that's both of them or if that's just the pension.
Yeah,
but if
yeah.
you just look at like that number, and it's been the governor senator's been gone close to 7 years now, and it's still flatline. It's still not. It should be slowly going like this to get it funded, but
Yeah.
we're still flatline, and that's taking a big bite out of our school aid to be able to backfill those pensions, and it's coming out of the classrooms no matter how you look at it when you move all the coconuts around.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yes, when Governor Snyder did that, well, he did have some help. Yeah, but there were a lot of people who worked on that. But yeah, it was a disaster and waiting to happen, and it didn't happen. So that
Yes.
alone is good. But
Yes.
you make promises. You've got to put in the amount of
Yes.
money to fund it, or
Yes.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Possibly. Well, good. I'm glad that they're at least it hasn't collapsed.
Yeah, I don't see it collapsing, but I don't think the debt needs to be paid off.
The debt must be paid.
And the thing is, the more that we continue to have, like anything, when your house is paid off, you have $1,000 more a month that you can invest and save and spend and put in the classrooms. But when you're paying that continuous interest to pay off your past bad deeds, it's taken
Or shall we
away
say
from-
promises made
Yes.
to buy peace
Yes.
with labor?
Yes, and we see that we have the road funding as well. We have bonds, and we're paying interest and school bonds, and you keep on paying interest where it's being interest and past debts that's being taken out of the classroom and off the roads. It would be nice if we could shore up some of those debts.
Do you have I don't know. Do you have off the top of your head the amount the percentages it is used for debt service?
I don't know, but I do know that, just in the road funding, it's close to $240 million a year that they're paying just in past debts.
That's
for the roads.
because the last shot, I believe, that Gretchen Whitmer did to keep her promise to fix the gosh darned roads. We can say damn roads. The governor said it. We can say that now. I'm glad she didn't use a worse word. Is that she borrowed a bunch of money rather than raise taxes, and which is good, but the money has to be repaid, and it's kind of a one-time money for an ongoing cost, isn't it?
Yes.
Because the roads will continue. They need maintenance. But it's good that at least they're getting the money. Now I have a question. It's nice to know that Gretchen Whitmer wants to keep her promise that she made 7 years ago when she ran for office. That's 7 years ago, though. How is she doing? I mean, is she going to be lame duck now? I mean, I think we're getting into lame duck territory.
I think so, and if you look at the amount of bills that have passed between the House and the Senate and the governor signing them, I think it's probably under a dozen, including the budget. And then we had to pass a couple of the bills for the road funding, to take the sales tax off, the gasoline that was going into the general fund, to actually make sure that goes into the road funding, that there was $1 billion that we did that for. And so legislatively, we had to change some of the laws to be able to account for that funding. So that, part of that package was that, plus the budgets. I don't think that we passed 15 bills this entire year with the balance of government or division of government, with the House of Representatives being Republican, the Senate Democrat, and the governor Democrat. So that's where we are right now.
I mean, because I remember when Jennifer Granholm, the Democrat, and the House was Democrat and the Senate was Republican, and you had the divided government as well. But I feel like Frank Sinatra singing, now the days dwindle down to a precious few. This 8 years, 4 years, maybe 8 stretches out so long, but. Gretchen Whitmer is starting. It doesn't sound like she's swinging as big an axe as, say, did John Engler toward the end.
No.
But John Engler, I mean,
Yeah, he was the axe thrower. Yeah.
Oh yes, stories we have heard. Yes.
So I think that one of the things that you see as the lame duck comes along, that all of a sudden there's a lot of great MEDC mission finding trips being scheduled in Japan and Singapore and Germany and Spain.
Get out of here. For real?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
Really?
yes, and so the last trip went from I think Japan back to Germany, but the MEDC was on a mission to find jobs from Japan, and they had they had identified this one company to come to Michigan, and there was 200 jobs to bring to Michigan, but in the meantime, the roads bring thousands of jobs, and we already have those jobs here because they've been working on the roads, and we have companies that supply the construction and the trucks, and literally they came to Lansing in full force. There was probably 5,000 aggregate mining and construction companies and workers that came to Lansing and said, we need road funding to keep these people employed.
Well, and then you build the roads and people use them to leave and go to Indiana. But there you go.
So I mean, it's like to be able to take, and that was the other thing that I always liked about Governor Snyder is, gardening, foster what you have instead of out looking for more game in other countries. So that was one thing that I'm glad that she came home and recognized that we needed the funding in the roads, and she was on board with getting this budget passed because it started with the road funding and everything else trickled off. And there was a couple things I'd like to be able to talk about.
Sure,
about the budget. One of the things that they found was that there were 2,000. We rolled back 2,000 full-time employees that were not. They're not layoffs and they weren't furloughed. That they were just placeholders. And we were able to roll those out of the budget.
Budget for full employment.
Yes, and we were able to roll out close to $800 million out of that general fund off the budget.
That's good.
Yes, and we were able to increase the road funding close to $1.8 billion.
With money you saved getting rid of, we'll call it waste.
Yeah, yes, and so we were excited to be able to accomplish that out of this budget, and to be able to say, okay, since COVID, we haven't had these workers come back to Lansing, and we had identified 900 buildings that only have 20% occupancy, and so that was recognized in this budget as well, that we need to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, like close them off and sell them.
Yes.
Who owns those buildings?
State of Michigan. State of Michigan owns half of them, and we lease the other half. So we need to get rid of these leases.
Yeah, we'd find out who we lease them to. That might be interesting too. So real quick before we run out, is Lansing still a ghost town? I was there last time I was up there was with the Michigan Association of Counties, and that would have been 22 or 23, and place was a ghost town. I actually at rush hour walked to the middle of Michigan Avenue and Capitol and stood there. There was nobody there. Is it still like that?
It's pathetic. It's the kids. The only activity you see at night is the electric scooters going down the middle of Michigan Avenue, literally. And,
well, that was
unfortunate.
Well, Lansing at night was, was still. I mean, now you go down to Michigan State, but if you're college, sure. But well, good. State employees are still out of the office.
Yes, and I'm hoping that maybe we can see some of this. People coming back to work based on this budget and what was written.
Pandemic's been over for years.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. We're going on 6 years.
Yeah.
And we found that only 20% of the people that have their badge are beeping in 2 days a week.
Well, maybe maybe that would be time to see whether we still need them anymore. But all right, well, thank you very much for joining us, Donni Steele, State Representative, 54th District. I'm always happy to talk budget. What can I say? And it's because it's my money and your money.
Absolutely.
So, all right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
and
Chuck.
Thank you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.